Hi, I'm Warren Sprouse. This is the Bible Forum. We're here every Sunday night from 8 until 10 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes we go a little bit longer. We look at life through a biblical lens. We try to solve all the world's problems in the 2 hours that's available to us. So this week we saw our Republican National Convention, and on Monday I wrote a blog of some of the thoughts that I had. I wanted to share some of that with you. I trust that you have gone to the website, thebibleforum.net. You have checked out the blog and the articles and some of the other things, the links and whatever, but that you've signed up to get the blog whenever I write one. But I wrote about the speeches. I thought the speeches were moving. I thought they were inspiring. I also thought the production was smooth. The guests spoke to unity and hope. But the real news was how Melania plagiarized Michelle Obama's 2008 speech, how the Ohio governor boycotted the event, how the Colorado delegation walked out, how the Ohio delegation was seated in the back of the room. So much for news outlets actually reporting on the facts that make up, well, news. As a culture, we've evolved into backyard gossip pretending to be news of the day. None of the issues the media found important were, well, important. For them, it was all soap opera stuff. The effort, of course, is transparent. Distract from what's being said and done. Don't let the American public know too much of substance. Keep it light. And, of course, put your own opinion in there wherever you can. When we look at the number of people in America who actually watch television shows, it's generally less than 10%. A top-rated prime-time TV program may get 6 to 8 million viewers. Monday night, The Bachelorette on ABC was number one, with 6.56 million. The top news shows do less. Fox News does the best. Successful movies do better, scoring about 20 to 30% of the population. The Republican convention, just over 10 million, and that includes all three broadcast news outlets. The cable audience, well, that number's not available at this posting. However, Fox probably had the largest audience, they usually do, and if the debates are any indication, they were. And Fox streamed it live on the net. Did you know that? If you go to their website and you sign up to receive any kind of notification from them, and they send notifications all day long of pertinent news events, it pops up in the top right hand corner of your screen. Little thing comes out, tells you what's going on, and you can go look at it if you want, or you can just say, oh, that's nice. But if you do that, then you will get one of those, as I did, and you during the convention, and you go there, and off on the right hand side was a little screen, and there he was. That was stuff going on, and if you clicked the screen, it filled your screen. They gave it to you free. You got to watch the net. It's there's stuff going on. So where do most Americans get their news? Well, the sad reality is that most Americans don't get any news. You see, Americans are an ignorant bunch. They're pretty much focused on themselves and on games or sex or music or drugs or whatever it might be. We, on the other hand, go to the polls armed with armed with the information that we have gathered over a period of years. Information that we have culled from a number of different sources. We pay attention to see how to vote. These young people go to the polls only with the last thing they heard from somebody they thought might know. And the politicians understand that. Politicians don't fret the ordinary propaganda. They know that it's all going to be forgotten with the next news cycle. Only the activists remember the details, and they're the ones making the noise. Did you know Melania copied Michelle's speech? I didn't. Fact checkers found out. But guess what? She copied, if she copied, the values of a solid family, whether it's in America or in her home country of Slovenia. What she discussed were what parents have inculcated or tried to inculcate in children for millennia. It's not new. Obama didn't make it up. It's not a unique thing coined by her cleverly. It's just what everybody does. And the fact checkers went and found that a lot of people talk like this, not just these two women. Melania's comments were rooted in those ages-old principles of common sense and wholesome values. And I'm very glad that Melania grew up and reflects the same value system. Aren't you? When the experts evaluate the public events, they generally note a movement of over a 5 or an 8 year period. You see, it's the steady drumbeat of information over time that matters, not the little blips on the radar. The propagandists who deliver our news, they know all about this. They're a patient bunch, sometimes subtle and often just a little off where truth is concerned. But nobody really holds them accountable. They don't lose their job or their notoriety when they get a fact wrong here or there, when they exaggerate something, or when they become strident relative to their own philosophy. Everything goes down the memory hole. There's much the liberal media and liberal politicians want to forget about the young black man running for a Colorado Senate seat. His short, pithy, motivational, practical speech was undoubtedly the hit of the show. It was for me. No one said more. No one said it better. And no one said it briefer. You didn't hear it? Check CBS, ABC, NBC, CNN. They may have it available. Not. But his name is Darrell Glenn. You need to watch for this man. Simia Mehta, a Los Angeles Times correspondent covering fact checkers during Donald Trump's speech to the Republican National Convention on Thursday, had to report his crime statistics as mostly accurate. Now, I know she was upset. She did not want to do it. But her complete headline on the Times blog was, Donald Trump's crime stats are mostly accurate, but his conclusions are a stretch. Translation? Because his facts cannot be corrected and then mocked, his policies must be ridiculed. You see, Trump reported when it came to crime that homicides last year increased by 17% in America's 50 largest cities. And that's the largest increase in 25 years. In our nation's capital, killings have risen 50%. They're up nearly 60% in nearby Baltimore. In the president's hometown of Chicago, more than 2,000 have been victims of shooting this year alone, and they have gun control. And more than 3,600 have been killed in the Chicago area since he took office. The number of police officers killed in the line of duty has risen by almost 50% compared to this point last year. Nearly 180,000 illegal immigrants with criminal records ordered deported from our country are tonight roaming free to threaten peaceful citizens. The author of this piece complained while the statistics he used were largely accurate, his conclusion was overreaching. That according to independent fact checkers. You see, there has been a sharp recent increase in homicide rates in certain parts of the country. However, the overall murder rates are the lowest they've been in decades. In terms of specific statistics, the author wrote, quote, Trump was accurate when he talked about 17% year-over-year increase in homicides in the nation's 50 largest cities, and the murder rates in Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Chicago. But he was inaccurate when he said that the number of police officer deaths had risen nearly 50% compared to the same period last year. You see, while the number of police officers killed by guns has gone up that amount, the overall number of police officers killed in the line of duty is flat. True? Yes. No. In this woman's last paragraph in particular, she claims that Trump said the number of police officers' deaths had risen nearly 50%, but Trump actually said police officers killed in the line of duty. And you see, she's correcting him for a mistake he never made. For media fact checkers, Republicans are presumed to be wrong or stupid, even when they're correct. Joel Pollack, senior editor at large at Breitbart News, writes about the Associated Press, listing the contradictions. He said, reading them, it was clear they were parsing Trump's words. Yes, this or that is true, however. And then there's all these lists of caveats, such as dates or numbers or circumstance. The bottom line, Trump's assertions were crafted to support his position. Well, there's a surprise for you. Nobody does that but Donald. They all do that. Joe Scarborough over at MSNBC on Friday's Morning Joe reacted to Donald Trump's acceptance speech at the Republican National Convention, saying it may have been exactly what millions of Americans have been waiting to hear. He said, it's not the speech I would have given. It's not the speech any of us, meaning those on the platform or maybe in the Democrat Party, would have given. It just may be the speech that millions and millions of people have been waiting to hear for a very long time. You're right, Joe. Guy Benson over at townhall.com said Donald Trump just delivered one of the longest, darkest presidential acceptance speeches in history. The shouted address was packed with a blend of correct statements, inaccuracies, and exaggerations. Fact checkers have their hands full. Glenn Beck said the bottom is rising up, and that's apparently a bad thing, according to Beck, because the government has caused so much chaos that there is fear in the streets. And so the bottom rose up in a populist, nationalist way, and they cried out, somebody help us. And somebody at the top said, oh, I'll help you. You may not get what you want, but you will get what you need. Beck then rehearsed what Trump had said. The winning campaign, what he had said prior. Beck had said this once before. The winning campaign will be led by a leader who convinces you to chant back, yes, we will, referencing the famous slogan associated with President Obama's successful campaign. But how foolish was I, because I had half the puzzle piece. Beck continued saying, little did I know the power of one individual that could convince those people who are in fear not to chant back, yes, we will, but rather, yes, you will. Yes, you will. In the midst of all of this, Hillary picked her running mate, a guy by the name of Tim Kaine. He's Virginia governor, former senator. This is the same man who was on Obama's short list, but we don't really know a lot about him. He is the former governor. He's a current senator. He finds common ground with his new boss on issues of foreign policy, education, criminal justice. He's for gun control and for increasing the budget regularly. Both Hillary and Tim are said to enjoy getting down in the weeds of policy making. Quote, I do have a fondness for wonks, quote, said to PBS. Asked if she felt Kaine was boring, Clinton had only one thing to say. He's never lost an election. But in the minds of the Republican Party, Kaine is just more of the same. Republican National Committee Chairman Reince Priebus said, quote, ultimately, this is a ticket that represents one thing: 4 more years like the last 8. just with more corruption and scandal. A Clinton-Kaine administration, he said, would push our country further down the path President Obama has led us on, and that has made us less safe, less prosperous, and less free. It's been an interesting week.